when my son was born, I was running into some issues with time, and it was a situation where there's only so much of that stuff you can see and take before you start to take it home with you. And once you've started to do that, you lose some of your effectiveness as a prosecutor, because half of that is being impartial and making appropriate decisions based only on the facts and the individual you have in front of them, and not necessarily reacting to what I think would be heinous at any point in time. And so when I kind of realized that's where I was at in my career, and that's kind of what I was doing, with the help of my wife, of course, I started to try to think about what other areas of law is going to be similar to being prosecution, but not necessarily as deep into those weeds. And that's when I kind of selected family law, because it's still an avenue where I can help improve a client's life, and I can help get them through a very difficult time for them, but it's not necessarily having to deal with, this is a sexual assault that occurred, this is the horrible fallout that's occurred from it all the time. We're splitting up. Sometimes that can be for negative reasons, but we can hopefully get those individuals through that and into that better space. And so that was kind of what solidified my decision that I wanted to maybe do family law versus any of the other areas of law that I kind of looked at.
Is it fair to say that it was more that the impact, that positive impact that you could have, or that contribution that you could have, would be the same, but it would be, by impacting families in a different way, or like going through a different difficult scenario? Exactly.
And some of those families, as a prosecutor, you kind of come in and you're an agent of essentially the state. And so you have priorities and issues that you have to look at beyond just necessarily what the victim wants. Sometimes it's a situation where those are in alignment, and obviously those cases are some of the better ones, or less difficult to handle. But there are times where an individual is going through something, and I can't always focus on what a victim wants, and that can be sometimes difficult when you're looking at it saying, I know you want me to drop this case, or you want me to do X, Y, and Z, or you feel he needs to go to prison for forever, he's going to do it again. But I have to look at it and treat similarly situated people the same, and that's one of the constitutional mandates you take, and one of the parts of the oath that you take. And so it can be difficult when you're looking at a victim and going, I know you want this. I know there is a likelihood that this will happen to you again if I don't take a significantly punitive step. But we've just done this with 4 other people, and I don't have, other than my fear that he'll do it again, I don't have the ability to go back and really drop the hammer on it. And so it's a situation where that can be extremely difficult, and at least in the family law context, you can really have a positive impact upon your client's life by advocating good positions that have legal foundations. And you can essentially take that and really advocate for that person who, sometimes in the criminal process, they have advocates, they have all those kinds of things, but ultimately a criminal case is captioned the people of the state of Colorado versus defendant. And the victim has a critical role to play in that prosecution, and there's the Victims' Rights Act bill, and there's been a lot of expansion of that over the last 20 or so years. But they're not necessarily in the driver's seat. You as the agent of the state is. And sometimes that can be extremely difficult when you're dealing with somebody who's really gone through a negative experience, and now you've even removed some of that authority over their own case away from them because they made a report.